ganito
Start.
ng mga foreigner mo ng mga listener.
Simula na.
Okay. We are talking about Brother George's claim that, by the way, you have been reading from Brother Amos, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And also,
And,
Gan and you.
From Brother Gans. Does Brother Gan have two battles?
No, only
Only
one.
one. So, Brother Amos teaches that the European Union will win over the Eastern kings. Then it will be they who will face Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Right? They will be the kings of the earth, he said.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to review what you have just said. I never said, this is what I said. I thought that EU and China are the both sides of the legs. No, I never thought that. This is what I said.
I clear, Brother Francis, your teaching. You said that during Armageddon, the China and Europe will fight each other. Then Jesus Christ
Will
like
come down.
come down like spaceship.
Like a spaceship.
Alien, like an alien.
Alien invasion.
Alien invasion. China in Europe will
Stop fighting and unite with
stop
each other
fighting
against the
and
land.
unite in fight.
Fighting
Jesus
Jesus Christ.
Yes, that is your teaching.
Okay. So let me continue my explanation to the 10 toes. By the way, this drawing is not wrong because Armstrong's drawing also includes the rock. It just so happened I don't have enough money to draw another painting of the rock coming down destroying the field. But you can still get a picture, and Brother Manalit can still get a picture, post it to Facebook. There's another picture where there's a rock that came from a mountain destroying the field. Okay, this drawing is not wrong. This is from the dream, of course. In a movie, you have still pictures. Okay. Now, my teaching about the 10 toes, it started out as the European Union. Okay. But it transformed. Remember, the beast of Revelation 17 is different from the beast of Revelation 13. The beast of Revelation 13 is combined beast of all the previous beasts. It's an international beast. So, Revelation 17 is the Holy Roman Empire. Revelation 13 is a resurrected, not just a Roman Empire, a political empire that includes the whole world. The whole world.
Brother Francis, question. What is the evidence, the verse in the Bible that European Union is the entire country? Or the entire...
Now everyone believes, and it's partially correct, that the 10 toes represent the original 10 tribes of Europe, vanquished, suppressed, conquered by the Romans. But eventually, they will become kings and independent. The membership of European Union today stands at 20 plus.
Yes.
So this is what happens. They transform. There is a worldwide unity today against terrorism. Now, this worldwide unity will not last long because it will be polarized between East and West. But they still have unity, and the 10 toes now represent not just Europe, but 10 geopolitical regions of the earth. There are other Protestant teachings of prophecies. You've heard of end-time technologies. They know about 10 geopolitical regions of the earth. Now, I'm not going to go into too much of that. I'm just saying, they're not all wrong. They just transform. Before, I had to choose. Should I believe that or believe this? But in reality, they're both true because there's a transformation. The whole world becomes this united beast. Okay? What is this united beast? The united beast that will persecute all Christians. It's not just Europe that will persecute. All who hate terrorism will persecute the left behind Christians. Those will be left behind. Now, so I clarified this. So I'd like to quote what you mentioned a while ago. I just heard it from you. I just want to put it here because it sounds funny. Sister Lyle was laughing. The kings of the east versus the kings of the earth. Do you remember hearing that? Kings of the east versus kings of the earth?
Yes.
Okay, yes. It sounds funny because actually the kings of the earth includes the kings of the east. Now, it will turn out the kings of the east are aliens versus the kings of the earth. But this is, I'd like to distinguish this. The kings of the east is found in Revelation chapter 9 when they want to pass through the Tigris and Euphrates River. Going into what? Going into Israel.
Yes.
So those are the troops of China, India, and all other coalitions in Asia.
Including Philippines.
Now, where do you read Kings of the Earth? You read this in Revelation 19. So, if the war between East and West is finished, remember it's a nuclear war. It's a nuclear war. What did Matthew chapter 24 say? Unless those days should be shortened, no flesh would be saved. Make sure I'm saying that. So,
Mahirap na sagutin ang
never mind.
But
Just digest this.
Di tayo magkakaintindihan yan.
That's all I can understand. Let's continue.
Okay, I do not understand also you.
I understand you now. Okay, let's continue. The kings of the east is in chapter 9. The kings of the earth is in chapter 19. What happened in between? Did they finish their war? Now, considering Matthew 24, what verse is that? 22? Unless those days be shortened. Could you check it out? Matthew chapter 24, verse what? Open up your Bible. Matthew 24 what? 22, 23, 24. I think it's 23. Am I correct? Unless those days
23.
23.
22.
Unless those days be shortened, no flesh shall be saved. But for elect's sake, for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened.
Yes, boys, they elect.
Of course, there are still elect left on the earth. We could be involved in that because we will inherit the millennial kingdom of earth. Now, if those days will be shortened, that means their war will be cut short. Their war will be cut short. Maybe you can use Matthew 24 that says, after the tribulation of those days. After the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened, and Matthew 24, 29, 30, check it out. Jesus Christ will come back, and He will gather all the elect from one end of heaven to the other. Now, is the war over? The war is over.
Wala, no?
After the tribulation of those days. Now, it could be said also that after the tribulation of those days, this is the great tribulation, 7 years. There is still a 30-day extra. So while Armageddon is taking place, Christ is coming back down. Now let's continue. Matthew 24, 23. Unless those days be shortened. What will be shortened? World War III. What war? The war between East and West. No one will be a winner. No one will win. The last war, no one will win because the last war, with all the full blast of human invented weapons today, no one will survive. You know, you don't need the Bible. Even my teachers when I was young, I don't know if you heard it when you were in school. Our teachers told us, just a single push of a button, the whole world will end. And that was not during 70s, it was even in the 60s. Kennedy stood eye to eye with Khrushchev. They were ready to go World War III. They were ready to go for it. So, the angels held back the winds. You know that. But you know, in 1963, whether that's a preview of what's going to happen in the middle of the week. And I know it's a preview. We came close to annihilation. You know, if you were not directly hit by the atomic blast, nuclear blast, thermonuclear blast, the radiation will kill you. The radiation will kill you. Unless Christ intervenes, no flesh on earth will be saved. Isaiah 24, verse 6. Few men left. That means to say, there was an intervention. What is Isaiah 24:6? The great curse. Read it, open it up. Devoured the earth, and few men left. Starting from verse 1, the earth tossed to and fro. You know how it tossed to and fro? It's not the work of the belligerent armies. It's the work of God. It's the work of Christ. They used earthquake to stop the war. They used natural calamity. Have you heard of the geostorm? It's terrible. There are many scientists without the Bible. They're discovering many things that can really wipe out mankind on the earth and bring this world back into not just the dark ages, the stone ages. So, now, so when Christ came down, is he limited to Megiddo, Jehoshaphat, Kidron, Jezreel? He's not limited to that. Did you know Jerusalem was ransacked? Zechariah chapter 14. Jerusalem will be invaded. Jerusalem, I wish to show this. So, take note. If the war is massive, it's not just in Megiddo, it's not just in Jehoshaphat, it's not just in those either Jezreel or Kidron. Although they're connected, they're not separated. Look at the map. If they're connected, the massive army naturally will cover both areas. It's just that Megiddo is a basin so that the blood can reach the horses' bridles. It's a basin. It's a catch basin, like when we have floods here in Marikina. Okay? So, when Christ comes down, He's gonna fight the kings of the earth. Who are the kings of the earth? It's not just the West, it's not just the East, but all mankind. Brother George, do you know the story of Antiochus Epiphanes?
I do not understand you.
Do you know Antiochus Epiphanes?
You are English speaking.
Oh, you're pretending not to understand. Let me explain. Antiochus Epiphanes was caught in between what? Rome and Egypt. Did you know that if you read Daniel chapter 10-11, Antiochus Epiphanes was originally north. But suddenly there's another north that is conquering, going against him, and that's Rome. And what did Daniel 8 say? He vented his anger on Jerusalem when he lost the war. He lost the war with Rome, he lost the war with Egypt, He vented his anger at Jerusalem. That's why there was a massacre. There was a bloodbath. There was genocide of the Jewish people. There was the abomination that make it desolate. Why am I saying that? Because the Pope is a type of Antiochus Epiphanes. He will be caught in between. When Europe and the East start moving towards Jerusalem, the Pope will be caught in the temple, but Jesus Christ will be the one that will destroy him. Not the European powers, not the Eastern powers. You can read in Revelation 17 that the beast killed the woman. That's the Vatican. But the papacy, the Antichrist, is still in the temple. And it will be Christ who will destroy him. Why? Because the European powers did not have no time to settle their warfare. Because no one will survive. Christ intervened. After Christ intervened, at the same time, then he will kill personally the Antichrist that's seated in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God.
Do you have a verse on that?
On what?
On Jesus
That
is
Christ
intervened.
will kill the Antichrist.
2 Thessalonians chapter 1, verse 8. Okay? Actually, I heard it from Pastor Villagonza, but that's the verse I know. So, but let's continue what I'm saying. Let's go over the evidences. So the place, a singular place is not an evidence that one will win over the other. No one will win in that war. No one. And the reason Christ will intervene, that bloodbath, it did not come from one winning over the other. They're not fighting with sticks and knives. They're fighting with nuclear weapons. There will be no blood. So who will produce the blood? It's a grapes of wrath from God. It's God who will produce that blood. Imagine, how do you press wine? How do you press the wine in the wine press? You put the grapes, you step over it, let the juice come out. Sometimes you have a juicer. You press the orange or what? The juice come out, right? But imagine, these are human beings placing the juicer in the wine press and they're trampled upon and the blood come out. This is not the makings of man. This is the makings of God. The warfare of man, there's no more blood. You only use, at least you use bullets, but there's no physical massacre there. There's only missiles against each other. You know North Korea? They're so proud because if they have nuclear weapons, even though they're a small country, they're on equal footing with the United States. If they shoot it at each other, no one's gonna win. Well, even one missile falling to the United States, they're afraid to do that, for that to happen. So they won't easily invade North Korea. That's the reasoning behind it. So the same thing here. If it involves the East and West, there are thousands of nuclear weapons involved there. Now, the conflagration of man, the warfare of man, will not produce this much blood. It will toast everything. It will roast everything, like Malakay. God has a different way of roasting everything. There's a volcano, there's an asteroid hit, there's a solar flare, coronal mass ejection. Although it sounds new to Brother George, I want you to take note of it. It is a solar flare reaching out to Earth. We could be burned up. Scientists are now discovering it. It happened sometime in 1800s, but there were only telegraph poles. We don't have these massive things we have today. If we have these things and it happened today, we will go to the dark ages. We will not have any water, food supply, or what? Electricity. The hospitals, the patients will be dying. The traffic lights will stop. So there are lots of things the scientists are discovering that the earth is just under the mercy of God. And of course, they're not just recognizing God. But if you're a Christian, you know what their discovery means. They're just under His mercy. And how does Christ intervene? Those things, those natural things. This earth will not be polluted by radiation, but People will be destroyed. People will be killed. And the armies will be killed. The kings of the earth, when Christ comes down, Revelation 19, the kings of the earth will make war will make war. How? So suddenly, they realize their enemy is the one coming back down in his second coming. Will make war against the Lamb and his saints. Because this almost sums it up. Revelation 14 talks about the bloodbath reaching in the horses' braces. So, I hope it's clear to you. Why did I did not just choose sides. Brother Jackson, I should be allied with him. Why did I not believe his big teaching that the West will win over the East first? Because no one will survive. There are other scriptures that does not line up. Unless you believe we are still in the Dark Ages, we are still in World War I, we're in World War II. World War II introduced us to the H-bomb, or to the atomic bomb. There will be no more World War IV. Einstein said, there were World War III. No, there will be no more World War IV. World War IV will be just sticks and stones. So, I hope this clears it up. How many minutes did it take? 21. Any questions? Question?
According to explanation of Brother George, there are two wars.
Yes.
Then Ezekiel 38, it is different from
Different. Ezekiel 38:39 is
war yan.
before the 7 years. That's it down of Gog and Magog.
Ezekiel 38:39, that is the full of Russia.
Yes.
Allied.
So, Armstrong's belief, they're mixed up in Armageddon. But it's different. Brother Majagan, I'm going to show you some parallelism. There's Gog and Magog in the beginning here. Gog and Magog in the beginning there. Tribulation. In the beginning of the new season, there's Gog and Magog being seduced to rebel against Jerusalem. At the end of the little season, there will be fire that comes down from heaven. The fire that comes down from heaven is parallel to the fire of Armageddon, the fire that will devour the earth. So they're different. Gog and Magog is somewhere farther up there, and Armageddon is later here. Same here with little season. Gog and Magog and fire from heaven.
Francis,
Yes, it's extra. That's why it's called extra.
the Gog and Magog is type of the war of Russia in Israel.
Yes.
Not type of Armageddon.
I said Armstrong's group mixed it up. They mixed up Gog and Magog to be also Armageddon. I showed the difference actually. I myself showed the difference. I'm pointing out there's a distinction. Sometimes maybe in other end-time churches they also mix it up. Okay? Even they mix it. Sometimes they could mix up these two. Okay?
So, Ezekiel 38, Daniel 11, and then Ezekiel 38 verse 4. It is only king of the east and the south.
No, not Ezekiel 38. Daniel. Is it Ezekiel 38, king of the east and south?
No. Daniel 11.
Okay. In Daniel 11, it's not east and west, it's north and south. But it's a type of what's going to happen
That
in
is
the time.
the war of yung
Antiochus
Epiphanes.
So, in Daniel 11, there is like a type of the Antichrist who will lay waste on Israel. Since chapter 8, he was already mentioned. But he will have his own problems. His own problems, he will be pressed in between two sides. And that's what I'm pointing out here. Here in nearing Armageddon, they're nearing against the Pope, the papacy, the Antichrist in Jerusalem. But they will not be able to get their hands on him because they will not finish their war. They will not finish their business. They will not settle their own wars. Who will get to him. So, it will be Christ who will get to them. So, who killed Antiochus Epiphanes? God. Suddenly, he fell from his chariot and he got infected.
Francis, China only not combine Russia or another country.
No.
Russia is gone after Ezekiel 38:39.
Yes.
So, the superpowers will be China, India, Japan, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia. Of course, you join the superpower. Duterte wants to join our superpower. Join the superpower. So, there's a superpower in the Asian bloc. There will be a superpower in the Western bloc. The Western bloc will be Europe versus. What about the United States? The United States will fade off.
Exploration of the oil.
Spiritual advisory.
You know, they're not just after the oil. There's a supernatural anointing about the small city of Jerusalem, especially when the temple was rebuilt. After the temple was rebuilt.
So, Ezekiel 38, before the beginning of the tribulation, is only part of the nation, but it's not affect for the whole world. Compared
Ezekiel
to
38
Armageddon,
fits more of what Brother Jackson said. It only affected that part of the world, Middle East. Actually, it will affect the whole world, but the war will mainly be focused on Israel.
What does that mean?
But Francis, the price of the oil affecting the war of
The oil will not be the only major factor. It will not be. When the temple was being built, read Haggai. The silver is mine, the gold is mine. Because Sheba and Dedan, that's Saudi Arabia, will send his gold.
How about the
For the
Philippines?
rebuilding of the temple. Remember the time of Solomon, they were sending. Everyone was contributing to him to rebuild the temple.
Brother Francis, question. Revelation 19 verse 15. Revelation 19:14. What? Inglesin mo nga, brother.
What? Continue what? Even if it's baroque.
Revelation 19 verse 14.
the English ng atin.
English translation.
Continue. Let's not waste time.
What verse? Okay, Englishin ko, o Tagalogin ko, Englishin mo.
Yes.
Okay. Tama kayo.
Okay.
Mas
Let the barbarity continue. Continue for the moment.
Revelation 19 verse 14 to the last.
Open up your Bibles.
Okay.
Follow.
What time or what
Place.
place, what
Season.
is this, or what time, or
That's in the 30 days. Now, after the 30 days, there's the rededication of the temple and there's the judgment of nations, separating the sheep from the goats.
okay.
So, these 45 days, this will be the time of Hanukkah, typology from Hanukkah. How God blessed the rededication of the temple, the time of Maccabees, after freeing it from Antiochus Epiphanes. It's a time of how the temple that was defiled by the Antichrist will be rededicated. Okay? So this is no longer time of war. This is time of cleansing the earth. Screening the refugees. Screening the people that will enter. This is also parallel to Great White Throne Judgment. Who will enter the eternal age? Who will enter the millennium? Okay?
Okay, stop. Okay, Acts chapter 1 verse
6.
11. Okay. Acts chapter 1 verse 11.
Everyone open up.
Which also said, Ye men of Galilee, why stand ye gazing up unto heaven? The same Jesus which is taken up from you into the heaven So come in like manner as you have seen, go into heaven. Okay. What place did Jesus going up?
He went up in the mount called Olivet.
Yes. Okay. Verse 12, then he returned into Jerusalem from the mount called Olivet, which is from Jerusalem. Okay. Megiddo is
Far
place
from
of Mount
Olivet.
Olivet.
Near Megiddo. It is further.
Yes. Father, not Megiddo.
By the way,
Exactly Megiddo.
if Christ will destroy the armies, he doesn't have to get face to face. Let's kill each one of you like the death angel. He is from above. He will just declare it.
Jesus-
When the sword comes out of his mouth, Revelation 19, it is a judgment. It is a declaration, speaking the word to existence.
Okay.
Let this
Okay, let us
let
read.
this happen.
Okay, Balban says, let us read. Revelation 19 verse 15. And 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon, let's start 11, verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful in truth, and the righteousness he doth judge in make war. 12. His eyes were as flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. 13. And he was clothed a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean.
Right.
15. And out of his mouth goeth his sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, he shall roll them with a rod of iron, and treaded the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of the Almighty God. Sa 16, inihat on his vesture and on his thigh in him written King of Kings and Lords of Lords.
Okay.
Until to the verse 17, 19, 20, and 21. This place is the valley of Mount Olivet.
No.
By the way, if he's gonna smite the nations, it's not on a singular particular spot. He has not yet landed on Olivet. Actually, Olive will be split in two. So, the Mount of Olive will split in two. So, he was still above. Pastor Biligonza said he was above for 24 hours. Because the whole world will see him. That's his evidence.
Is that
So,
that teaching of Pastor Villagonza?
I'm just injecting what I learned from him.
Okay.
And you can still refute that, but let's give it another time. What I'm saying right now, he said he will be on the air for 24 hours. And his evidence was, every eye will see him. We are not a flat earth. We are a globe, and we are turning. So there will be darkness, and the only light they will see is Christ. It's an international event. It's not on a singular spot. Yes, he will land on a singular spot, but before he lands, all these cataclysms would have taken place. The nations would be destroyed. Their armies will be destroyed. So it will be from above, like the Bethlehem star.
Literally, Christ will stay 24 hours.
That's how Pastor Villagonza explains it.
That is no basis, biblical basis.
Because every eye will see him.
I
Collaboration.
still see.
Well, there's I don't see any contradiction because this event is actually 30 days. So, the last part of it, when they were to be destroyed, it will not be at the twinkling of an eye. It will at least be a long process, at least a day. But I don't believe it's just a day. It's more than a day.
Only collaboration in 24 hours.
What collaboration?
parang
Maybe,
parang ano yan.
pwede
Pastor
mo
Ginagawa siya?
Yes.
I don't know how he learned that, where he learned that. Maybe he learned it from Jara Jackson, okay? But, or from the Bible or what. I just heard it and I remembered it and I looked at the biblical reference. It's sound for me. Because it's not just, here it's not just 1 day, it's 30 days. So what is 1 day? Okay? That everyone will experience that mountains fall on us, rocks fall on us.
Basta bago sa question this the answer of Brother Pastor Bago sa
Kaya mo yan.
maybe or 24.
Correct, maybe correct. Well, until I hear a better explanation, for the meantime, I will subscribe
No
to his
verse,
explanation.
no verse,
There's a verse that every eye will see. That's the verse. Okay? That's the only verse I remember of his evidence. Okay, Brother George, please give us a closing prayer.
Ako, paborito ko talaga.
Ay, siya daw paborito mo.
Abay, hindi.
Brother Pat, am I still centered?
Ayaw niyo manalangin, ha? Sa tribulation, mananalangin din kayo.
Close it, Lord.
Siyempre naman. Kneel down.
Ha?
Kneel down.
Sit down.